"Pray, son, pray," he would say. As far back as I can remember, he always called me son. He would reach for my hand as he lay in the hospital bed in the closing days and hours. With feelings of inadequacy, I would do what this true man of God asked. It was not so much the fact of me praying as it was I recognized that his eyes were always looking to his master, and I felt so inadequate to be praying for such a great man. Thursday night was the hardest for me. It was just he and I and the nursing staff. And there was the head nurse, Judy Hooter, brother and sister Gerald Trammell's daughter. That was the night, in the wee hours of the morning, that she was there with my grandfather and myself and another nurse singing, "Only Believe." Yes, the angels were there too. They were always there. In spite of the suffering, he reminisced with me about bygone days that night. He remembered with remarkable clarity things that he had done with me as a child 40 years ago. Saturday, April 22nd, in the early hours of the morning, families gathered around. Doctors telling us it won't be long now. Chillie Jordan is just ahead. We were right there at the banks with him. We tried to hold on to him. Just couldn't bring ourselves to let go. But the Lord was ready to take him across and receive his anointed servant into his bosom. "Lucille, Lucille," he called out to her many times that week. He wanted her right there with him as he approached Jordan. She was his constant companion and confidant for 68 years. Yes, he had told us, but we didn't want to believe him. "I won't be here much longer," he would tell us. The first day in the hospital that week, he reminded us, "I want Brother Tenney to preach my funeral." He always knew and sensed things that others seemed to miss. Saturday, the sun is shining brightly through the window, and that was the day they came. Yes, the angel of the Lord came that morning to usher him across Chillie Jordan. The family was gathered around with him that day, reminiscent of Old Testament days when the patriarch of the family was leaving the family and crossing into the unseen to a city whose builder and maker is God. All the family was present that day. Lucille is there till the end with daughter Ruth, all the grandchildren and great-grandchildren, his brother Ralph, sister Ethel, other family members, and a few saints from the church along with brother and sister Trammell and brother and sister Jeff Ramsey. The crossing took place without struggle. Gently he went to sleep and was delivered into the everlasting arms of his Lord and Savior. But as the days and months have passed since his passing, his voice is still heard. His presence and faith are somehow still felt. He always reminded me of the disciple whom Jesus loved, that is to say, John. His ear was ever tuned to the heartbeat of God. Day and night he prayed and listened for the voice of his beloved Master. He confided in me the last few weeks of his life that he could not understand why others could not or did not seem to grasp the fact that their prayers were just as powerful as his if they would only have faith and believe. If there ever were a person whose life was wholly dedicated unto the Lord, then it would be in the person of T.W. Barnes. He truly was a seer, a man of prayer, a man of integrity. Tom Barnes had favor with God and man in a ministry that spanned 68 years. The ministry of faith knows no boundaries, and the voice of faith continues to reverberate through the time immemorial. Though he is not present with us in body, his ministry is still being experienced in this present hour. The Apostle Paul, referring to his impending death, wrote in 2 Timothy 4:6, "The time of my departure is at hand." The word departure in the original language could also be described as breaking camp. It reminds us that when death comes, our tent, also known as the body, will be laid aside, when our spirit moves into a more permanent residence. The Apostle Paul relates this in 2 Corinthians 5 verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house, this tent, is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. On Saturday, April 22nd, 2006, Tom Willis Barnes, chosen vessel and prophet of God, broke camp and folded up his earthly tent and moved to his eternal residence in the heavens. Brother Barnes lived his entire life seeking to draw ever closer to his Lord and Savior, and is now forever present with the Lord. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7 through 8, for we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord.
He gave us this book full of promises, not to tantalize us with it, but he gave it to us and promised that he'd hear and answer prayer. And I would say, Lord, if you don't intend to answer these promises, why did you give them to us? You wouldn't call one of your children into the kingdom and then not do what you told him you'd do. You'll always do what you said you would do. You placed the desire to pray in my heart. Surely you wouldn't refuse to answer the desire you put there. You placed faith in my heart. Surely you wouldn't respond to it after placing it in my heart. My hopes are all in you. As your own little child, surely you wouldn't dash them to the ground. No, my friend, he'll keep his promise. He'll do what he said he would do.